I'm not sure if this was weird, but it's the second time it has happened while I parked.
I was sitting on the phone, my car was off, and then a lady tapped on my window. I started my car and put the window down slightly and asked what was up. She was like, I'm homeless.
Do you have a cigarette?
I said sorry, I don't smoke, and offered her the leftover pizza I had.
She said thanks so much.
I asked if she wanted any other food,
And she was like, McDonald's.
so I told her to wait, and they'll get her the Big Mac meal she asked for. I went, and as I was in line, I saw her put the pizza on the ground. And she talks on the phone while I'm in line staring at me. Then I see her run into Tim Hortons.
Once I got the food, I parked where she dropped the pizza and waited a bit, and I thought maybe she was going into the bathroom.
10 minutes later, a car parked next to me was a guy, and he just glanced at me, but he didn't get out of his car. He just stayed there, and he started talking to the guy in the car next to him. Also, the lady didn't seem to have knocked on anyone else's window but mine, unless I didn't see it. I just felt weird, so I drove away, and I noticed the guy parked next to me drove away at the same time. 3 turns later, and he's still behind me. Eventually, he turned left, and I kept going straight, so it could have all been in my head. But why did she leave before I gave her food? And why did she leave the pizza? I was so confused. For your information, I'm a woman in my mid-20s. My friend thinks it could be sex trafficking, but I don't know. Our area is pretty safe. I also want to state I never got out of the car. I went through the drive-thru, so I'm not sure how they could have done anything anyway.
Petrifying stories. I was in kindergarten, and we were coming back from a field trip because it had started raining. Since the teachers counted kids in alphabetical order, and my last name was one of the latter ones, I was in the back of the queue. This old man with an umbrella came over and stated that he was my classmate's grandpa, and that he'd bring me home himself. In my small 5YO brain, it didn't even register why he was bringing me home and not his grandson. But I went with him anyway, because was tired of the rain. We stood a few meters away from the bus, watching everyone get in, and he kept me in front of him with his hands on my stomach. Gross. When the teachers got to my name and didn't see me anywhere, they began to freak out. So, before he could do anything, I raised my hand and called my teacher's name. She saw me and probably realized what was happening and stormed over, grabbed me, and quite literally threw me onto the bus. I still remember this ordeal like it was yesterday. Both my teacher and parents blamed me for it, but I didn't know any better.
About 7 years ago, right before I met my now husband, I joined a few dating apps. A few of my friends had wonderful experiences and met their now spouses, so I figured I'd give it a try. I was 21 time and had also recently lost quite a bit of adult weight and was tiny for the first time in my life, so I was ready to put myself out there. I didn't take it too seriously, let the men come to me, and eventually there was a guy who caught my eye. His name, we'll call him Watson, was 23 and very handsome in my, then, opinion. We matched on Bumble, and kept talking for quite a while. It turned into texting, then phone calls, and then him asking to meet up. Now, don't get me wrong, one don't think I have any superpowers or can tell the future, but when he asked to start seeing each other in person, I just had an off-gut feeling. I thought maybe it was just anxiety, but later I found out I just knew. After blowing off plans and saying I was busy multiple times, he got mad and blocked me on everything. That was fine. I felt a bit bad, but I was also 21 and he gave me the creeps, so good riddance. Fast forward, 6 months later I had met and started dating my now husband. I got a message from Watson on Facebook and let him know that I had met someone new, and I wished him well. He got angry, oddly for someone I'd never met in person. Calling me names, swearing a ton, so I blocked him. Then came the spam accounts, the new Instagram handles. More name calling, which became threats. Thankfully, he did back off and stop eventually. I was so relieved. I hadn't dealt with someone like this before or after, so I was genuinely scared.
A year later, was at Target shopping for some new shoes and makeup. I checked out.
Headed to my car, keys in hand. I had just opened my door after loading my trunk when I heard someone yelling my name, and I turned around thinking it was a friend or co-worker, but alas.
T was Watson. I got into my car without a word.
I definitely went into fight or flight mode and I was ready to fly. The last thing I saw was him standing in the middle of the Target parking lot after chasing my car. It's been years and I haven't heard or seen him again, and I hope to never have another creepy encounter. PSA: don't chase girls, we hate that. This just happened like 20 minutes ago and I'm freaked out. I'm a young girl dog/house sitting for someone all by myself. The guest bedroom is on the main level of the house, and the bedroom door opens up directly across from the front door. The front door is all glass so whoever is at the door can directly see the guest bedroom door. I'm at the house and it is pretty late at night. My car is parked in the driveway and all of the lights in the house were turned off. Was in bed in the guest bedroom almost asleep until I heard knocking on the front door. No, I'm not crazy because the dog heard it as well and started barking. The knocking kept going for several minutes. Like 5+ minutes. I was too afraid to leave the guest room because I didn't want the person at the door to see me, young girl home alone lol. It was especially odd to me because it's not like they were intending on waking anyone up. If they were, they easily could have rang the doorbell. And it's not like they thought I was awake since all of the lights were off. It was also odd because they knew I was home since my car was in the driveway. I called the police. They came and searched around a little bit, but I'm still so creeped out. I can't think of a reasonable explanation for this to have happened late at night. I wish I could have seen who it was at it. Also forgot to mention that I spoke with the homeowner and he has no clue who it could be. He was the one who suggested I call the police. When I was about 7-9, 2007 to 2009, I lived with my family in North Carolina. My grandmother on my dad's side of the family lived not far away in Virginia Beach, VA. One summer we drove down to visit her for a week or so and came back home relatively late at night.
As my brother and go into our shared bedroom at the time to set our bags down and get ready to go to bed.
We had gone into my parents' bedroom for one reason or another.
And my mom and dad were checking the voicemails on the landline phone. My mom has always been very adamant about having a landline in the house. As my mom was flipping through the voicemail, she came across this one that was what sounded like a child's voice singing in Spanish.
My mother's native language is Spanish and her side of the family is Cuban, so she was able to translate it. The translation was roughly along the lines of, 441 hope you die in suffering. There was no callback number, and my mom was never able to find out who left the message, whose voice it was or what it meant. Something about the whole thing absolutely terrified me and had a hard time sleeping that night.
Recently visited my parents' house, not the same house, not the same state, last month for a few days before heading back home after a work trip, and brought it up with my mom to see if she remembers it as well as I do, and she said
she vaguely remembers it. It's still one of my creepiest memories and freaks me out to this day.
It was around 10:15 p.m. and was laying in my bed tired because earlier that day was at football practice, and I was about to fall asleep. Then a hark knocking on my bedroom window.
Then my body just froze like I couldn't move. Then I heard someone speaking to me from outside, and their voice sounded super familiar. Then I realized it was my own voice.
And I knew my brain wasn't messing with me because that voice sounded like a real human, and the voice was saying, I know you're in there, come out in it to talk to you, it shouldn't take that long, and it's come on James hurry up in really. Demanding voice, and it wasn't in my voice, I was so scared I wanted to look outside that window so be a debut there was something in my head telling me not to, and nothing like that has happened to me ever since.
I couldn't tell you if this is para or cult related. I'm thinking cult but have never found evidence. New Jersey in 1994. This happened. I was 4, but have a pretty clear picture of what happened.
Slept over at a family friend's house with my brothers. They wanted to go read book and play at the park with the family friend's son.
Being the annoying little sister wanted to go too. Next to the park was woods. They went into them. And I of course followed. I'm not sure how far we went in, but they thought it was a good idea to bolt in different directions, leaving me in there alone. Not sure how long was in the woods alone or how far wandered.
What do remember is people in dark robes and hoods just walking.
I couldn't see their faces, but I just knew if they saw me or heard me was going to be in trouble.
After panicking and I'm pretty sure some silent crying, I learned how to silent cry. Early different story. My brothers found me.
I do not remember the walk back to the house, or how long was gone, or how long they were looking for me. Still don't know anything about the cult in the woods.
A few months ago, I was walking home from the local gas station, small lakeside town in Michigan, when I see my friend with her sister and her friend running towards me as I bent down to tie my shoe. They walked with me with a good chunk of the way there. When my friends say that they were being stalked, followed by a few men who looked about 18 or 19 years old, they were walking home from the local library. I immediately looked behind me out of instinct, and I see 2 men walking slowly behind us, about 500 feet away. They fit the exact description that my friend gave me. As I am looking at them, they notice me and run off. I'm pretty tall for my age and look a few years older than I really am. As we part ways, I look behind us one last time and thankfully I don't see them. Don't worry, her and her sister's friends are fine. Pretty darn scary, the end. When 13 at the Goodwill with my mom, went to pay for items and there was an older man at the cash register. He gave me a weird look that made me uncomfortable, just as he's finishing ringing up everything, and when my mom was momentarily distracted by paying. He looks at me and quietly says, "Smile," even though I was confused and creeped out. I smiled in an instant. He retrieved a Polaroid camera from under the register and took a photo. Then just as quickly as he took it out, he puts it back down on the counter. My mom noticed a flash and was confused look on her face, but the cashier acted as if nothing happened. It happened so fast and was so weird. We just looked at him in shock and left. Then we got in the car and my mom asked, did he take a picture of you? I just nodded my head. We didn't know what to think, so we just kind of tried to forget about it. Still creeps me out thinking about this man possibly having my photo, and who knows how many other people's photo. So when some stranger says smile, just don't. I got a text, "I see you," right when I got out of the shower. I've had some experiences with a stalker in my past. When I was about 14, a homeschooled boy who lived close to my house and was very socially awkward. Me and my friends were very dumb and thought the whole situation was funny at first. We thought he was just obsessed with me because of his crush, but never realized how creepy he was. We often answered his calls. He called me 25 times and more a day. I was at a sleepover, so we called him to mess with him. Yes, I realize this is a horrible thing, but I was so young. We would just ask him dumb questions, like if he stalked me and why he was so obsessed with me. Once we were being so dumb and said that we were having a party at my house, and he instantly got angry and said he could come over there and take everyone out with his pistol, and no one would know. We were a little stunned, but me and my friends brought it on. We would say, "You wouldn't be able to get here," and he instantly rebutted, saying he was already here. My house is surrounded by trees and is in the country, and we heard through the phone a car door shut and what sounded like him running. We started laughing, saying that he wasn't scaring us, but he said he was at my house and was watching us. We laughed once more until we heard a knock at the door. This is when reality hit us, and we actually started to become scared. My friend and I were still laughing and saying that's a good one. I didn't know how to react because it didn't make sense of how he could just be messing with us. My friend went to go open the door, and I yelled at him to stop. He didn't listen to me and insisted it was a joke, so he went to go open the door and screamed. I grabbed my phone and called the police. My friend came back laughing. I was so confused. She said, "I'm just messing with y'all. Nobody is there." My heart was pounding, and I said, "Thank goodness." But I told my friend that wasn't funny. My friend left immediately so I could get in the shower. I received a strange text while in the shower. I checked my phone and noticed I was still on the phone with the police. "Oh shit," I said. So I grabbed the phone and I tried telling them that I'm okay. But they said that they already sent out 2 cops to check on me. I told them it was a mistake, but they said it's too late and they're already on their way. I said I'm sorry and hanged up. I checked the text and it was from that guy saying, "Enjoying your shower?" My heart starts to race. Then I see a shadow run from behind my closed door. I run out of the shower and grab the towel. I heard a knock on the door and they yell, "It's the police!" They asked me, "Do you know this boy?" And it's the stalker boy. The police said they found him roaming around my house and said, "Thank God we found him when we did," and had the boy in handcuffs. I asked, "Why, officer?" The officer tells me because they found a pistol on him saying that he is a mass murderer. He shot some kids at a school for the fun of it and they were unable to find him. That explains why he's always been homeschooled. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. But every night I thank God for being alive because I realize life isn't a luxury, it's a gift. I live on a long road with a dead end at the end, so me and my best friend walk down it. Down by the end of the road is an abandoned shack. The old lady that lived there supposedly died, and there was one other house with a family and a dog there. Anyway, me and my friend made it to the dead end, take the way back, and we walk up to my porch. Mind you, my friend was recording at this time. So then we make it up to my steps. Before my friend hears a whistle, we look around. No one's there. My parents weren't home as my mom was in Houston and my dad went to the store, so we were home alone. I didn't believe my friend until we played the footage of the video back, and I heard it too. Moments later, my dad comes back. We tell him everything. He believes us, but his hearing so bad, so he can't hear the whistle. On the second scariest encounter of my life. A few months ago, was laying in my bed watching TikTok when I heard something outside my window. I live in a townhouse complex with multiple entrances and exits. And I see a very odd looking man standing on the sidewalk and I decided it was nothing. So I laid back down until I heard a loud scream for help. I sat up just as I looked outside. It was the same man with the girl in his arms. I could tell he saw me, and I hid under my window and waited for a while, till I looked back out into the empty night. I was terrified and told my parents about the encounter. So I have to move, and I'm no longer afraid of that person, but I still here to help almost every day. Thank you for watching. Me and my best friend were walking to the park. It was getting dark. My boyfriend wasn't far behind and was just finishing his pint at the pub. It wasn't dark when we set off, but it was getting dark by the time we reached the entrance to the park. Our plan was just to sit down and chill. Anyway, we heard a voice. I didn't respond to it, but I asked Lizzie, "Are they saying my dead name?" He said it sounded like Nessa, not Vanessa, which is weird because we may have heard 2 different things. Lizzie called me Nessa right up until I came out and he found a new nickname for me. Everyone else called me Vanessa. I was distinctly creeped out by the voice, and so was Lizzie. We waited for my boyfriend to arrive and sat down at the entrance to the park but didn't go in. That was enough outdoors for me. We walked Lizzie home and then went home. What am I to make of this? So my grandmother had dementia, and she used to stay with me because nursing homes were expensive. She would often get up in the middle of the night confused and walking around. It usually wouldn't bother me, but this night was different. On this night, I remember it being late and was getting ready to go to bed. It was around 1 a.m. I'm also getting ready. I can hear small footsteps on the creaky wooden floor. Figured it was my grandmother getting up to use the bathroom or something. But when I stepped out of my room, the bathroom had nobody in it. This is when I heard a soft humming noise coming from my grandmother's room, like someone was humming a song. I walked up to my grandmother's room and the door was almost fully closed. I opened the door and found a pitch black room. The light for some reasons wouldn't turn on, so I used my phone's flashlight. As I looked around the room, I realized the humming was coming from the closet. As I got close to the closet, the humming stopped. I opened the door and my grandmother was standing with her back facing me. Put my hand on her shoulder and she slowly turned around. She had a smile from ear to ear and just stared at me. I'll never forget that night. On one of my family's occasional trips to the town, we went to Target to shop around a bit. I separated from my family to check out the trading card section near the front of the store, when suddenly a hefty man wearing green, which is what I recall it being St. Patrick's Day, he was standing a few feet from me for a noticeably long time. I didn't think too much of it. I noticed. He kept following me around the store. Everywhere I went, he would walk from a distance, so obviously like he was following me. I hadn't seen him for a while, so I went to the restroom to do my thing, and he comes in restroom while I was washing my hands, and he washes his hands too. I was 14 to 15 at the time. He wasn't taking any chances. I got a bad vibe from this guy, so I ran off and looked for my dad. Once found my dad in the electronics section, I see the man one last time pacing as he usually does, then I don't see him again. I didn't pay too much attention to the man's face when I felt shameful, terrified of his presence. Just wanted Pokemon cards. Door knockers. So, this has left me in a pretty curious, but earlier today, someone knocked on my door. I know there's like a million door-to-door salespeople, but I had the opportunity to watch him walking away down the street, and he didn't knock on any of the doors in my building or surrounding my building. So I get the idea to hop in my car and see where he goes. So not too far from my building, he's talking to this girl in a truck who was pulled over on the road. By the time I turn around, they're both gone. What the hell just happened? He got into a pretty nice truck as well, so it seems unlikely it's just some junkie trying to... Who knows? Driving me nuts though. Should have just answered the door. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and...
It was late at night and I was unable to fall asleep and became hungry. So I decided to order some pizza and have it delivered to my house. I waited a while for the pizza, then heard my doorbell ring. It was 20 minutes later. I was super upset. I come outside to get the pizza and notice it's a woman. This is weird, I said to myself. It was a man who I was just speaking to. I then realized I could check the pizza app and it tells you who is delivering the pizza and a picture of their car. This was not the person that was supposed to be delivering our pizza. I tell her I need to go back inside to get the money. She realizes I'm suspicious and pulls out a knife. Then we hear the police sirens go off and she runs away. The police took me back to the station for a report. Thank God those sirens went off. Cause if they didn't, I might not be alive. The police told me the sirens were for a hit and run in the area around me.
I can't believe a coincidence saved my life. The police told me to rest assured. They said they would catch the bad woman in no time. They had the entire police force working on this case. This made me feel a lot safer. I went and looked outside and didn't see anyone. My heart was beating. I made sure all my doors were locked. Then I went back inside and tried going to sleep. I got home and put the TV on. I heard a loud bang at the door, so I went to go check it out.
Deep within the heart of the dark side, lies an old manor shrouded in mystery and darkness. Legend has it this place is haunted by the spirits of its former residents. Tonight we embark on a terrifying journey to uncover the secrets of the haunted manor. A young, curious and mysterious man named Brendan investigates the abandoned manor. He gets the chills as he visits the house and a very uncomfortable feeling settled along his body as if he's not alone. As he visits more and more of the house, he notices a portrait, the spirit materialize before her, their faces contorted with anguish and despair. Why have you disturbed our eternal slumber? Leave this place before it consumes your soul. Brendan runs home as fast as he possibly can and tells his roommate everything that has just happened to him. Brendan's roommate gives him a strange look and tells him that there isn't any manor in the area. Brendan doesn't believe what his roommate is telling him because he said he saw it with his own eyes, so he knows it's really there. The next morning, Brendan goes out with his roommate to show him where the manor would have been, but there was only grass and no building. The roommate laughs and says let's just go home. Nobody would believe Brendan, but he still swears what he saw that day was true, and he will find others to prove it, even if it takes him his whole life. He refuses ever to let this go.
In a quiet suburban neighborhood, there was a house with a long-standing legend that sent chills down the spines of those who heard it. It was said that an antique mirror passed down through generations held a sinister secret. Brendan knew about the evil mirror, so he came back to destroy it once and for all. As Brendan looked into the mirror, and right before he could destroy it, he saw the reflection and was now controlled by the mirror. He went over to a grocery store and pulled out a knife, and one of the customers looked at him and saw this crazy, possessed look in his eyes. She saw him pull out the knife, and before she could say anything, he slit his own throat and died instantly. She called the ambulance, and the police came as well, since it was a suicide case. The police questioned the girl. As she was answering the cops' questions, she remembered right after he killed himself, he muttered, "Destroy the mirror." The police officer went home that night to do some extra research on the suicide case that happened in the grocery store today. She couldn't understand this case because none of it made any sense to her. She looked up the victim's name and her eyes widened as she got her answer. The mirror comment he made about destroying it was finally making sense to her. The mirror possessed him and needs to be destroyed as soon as possible or the cycle will continue. I hear a knock at my door and I look through the doorknob and notice it's my coworker. I was about to let him in. Then I remembered that the last thing he did was investigate the victim's house where the supposedly cursed mirror was. I looked straight into his eyes and saw the same possessed look that the girl from the supermarket described earlier.
To be continued. 20 likes for part 2 please.
I was bored on a Saturday evening, sitting on my bed, so I decided to go on Tinder, scroll and scroll, scroll. Then I slid up on someone and we instantly got a match, so I messaged her. She messaged me back right away. She asked if we could meet. I usually would notice red flags and not be so open to meeting new people right away, but I was desperate, so I decided to go and meet her. She said, "Let's meet tonight," and sent me the address. I went to go meet her at the address she sent me. The address put me in the middle of the woods. I was so confused. I know this couldn't be right. I had an off feeling about this. Something didn't feel right, so I sent her a message and tried calling her, but the call or message didn't go through because of the bad reception from being in the woods. I get an uneasy feeling and try and leaving, but then I see a strange older man staring at me from a distance. He starts running towards me and I run out of the woods non-stop and refuse to look behind me until I'm back home. I got home as soon as I can, out of breath, and lock all my doors and check my windows. I think I lost them a while back. Instead of calling the police like any normal person would have, I decided to just go to sleep and try to forget about everything.
I woke up just like any other day. I was a high school student. I brushed my teeth, went to the bathroom, and left for school. I was sitting in class doing an assignment, minding my own business. Then I see a student get beat up right in front of me, and I'm sitting there in my seat staring, and I'm so scared. I don't know what to do, so I panic and run out of the classroom and back home. My mom is sitting there at the table, and she sees this worried look on my face. She asks if I'm okay. I tell her what happened, and she just gives me this ashamed look and says, "It happened again?" Didn't it? I was so confused. "Mom, what are you talking about?" I said. Then the police came and arrested me. "Mom, what's going on?" I said. I was so confused. The cop took me down to the station. The cop showed me a video of me attacking the student. I said, "There's no way that was me, officer. I saw someone else do it." But I remembered, just then, I had an illness where I would hurt people and see someone else doing it when it was actually myself. I never went as far as actually killing someone until now. The medicine was working just for a little bit. As I get transported to a jail, I peek through the window of the bus and see my mom with a boy who looked just like me. Then I hear my mom say, "Let's go, son." In the brightly lit room, Sarah, a popular YouTuber known for sharing every aspect of her life, stared into a camera, sharing her latest adventures. She just hit 1 million subscribers, but little did she know, this milestone will lead her down a dark and terrifying path. As Sarah vlogged her daily routine, she gave her viewers an intimate look at her life. She reviewed her location, her daily schedule, and even her favorite hangout spots. Her followers loved her dearly, but what they didn't realize was that a sinister figure was watching. One evening, after signing off her live stream, Sarah heard an eerie noise coming from her closet. She cautiously approached it, her heart racing. Suddenly, a masked man burst out and grabbed her, a chilling smile hidden behind the mask. Sarah's world spiraled into a nightmare as she found herself bound and gagged in an unknown location. The kidnapper taunted her, telling her he's been watching her for months, learned everything about her through her videos. Days turned into a harrowing ordeal. with Sarah's life hanging by a thread. She finally managed to escape into the woods, barely alive. The police apprehended her capture. It was a stark wake-up call for Sarah, who had learned the importance of privacy. Upon her recovery, Sarah returned to YouTube, but with a newfound perspective. She continued to share her life, but she kept certain details private, ensuring her safety of herself and of her loved ones. The moral of the story was clear. Being a YouTuber was okay, but it was crucial to strike a balance between sharing and keeping personal information private. Sarah's terrifying experience served as a chilling reminder of the dangers that lurked behind the screen, hidden in the shadows of the online world. As the cold autumn night settled over the town, John and his young son Bart left a football game, their hearts filled with joy after witnessing their favorite team's thrilling victory. The neon glow of a 24/7 diner on the desolate highway ahead seemed inviting, a perfect place to coast off a memorable day. The father and son walked into the diner, where the sound of a bell chimed over the door, announcing their arrival. The place was eerily quiet, with only a few dimly lit booths occupied by equally quiet patrons. The air felt heavy, and a shiver ran down John's spine as they took their seats at the worn, vinyl-covered counter. The waitress, her face etched with deep lines, shuffled over. Her eyes bore a haunted look as she handed them the menus. John ordered coffee, and Bart a plate of fries. As they waited, John noticed strange symbols etched into the counter's surface, but thought little of it. Their food arrived, and they ate in silence, the unsettling atmosphere casting a pall over their enjoyment. A hushed conversation at the booth behind them drew their attention. The patrons were speaking in whispers, discussing something that sent chills down their spines. John caught snippets of phrases like disappearances and never seen again. Unease gnawed at John as he glanced at his son. Bart's young face was pale, and he sensed his unease as well. They decided to leave quickly, asking for the check. The waitress glanced nervously at the other patrons before scribbling a number on a piece of paper and signing it to John. It was an exorbitant sum, far more than their simple meal was worth. Refusing to be taken advantage of, John handed her a reasonable amount of money and stood up. But as they made their way to the exit, a heavy-set man blocked their path. He was flanked by two menacing figures, all of them leering with malevolence. "You can't leave without paying the full bill," the heavy-set man growled. John, refusing to back down, demanded to see the manager. The heavy-set man signaled to a door in the back, which led to a sinister, dimly lit room filled with more eerie symbols and strange, flickering lights. In that room, John and Bart saw horrors that would haunt their nightmares for years to come. It was a shrine to something otherworldly, with photographs of missing people who had dinned at this very diner. The realization dawned upon them, and they had stumbled upon a nightmarish secret. These people had all vanished without a trace. They made a daring escape, racing through the kitchen and out the back door, their sinister figures hot on their heels. As they reached the safety of their car, John quickly started the engine and sped away from that cursed diner. The police were called, and a thorough investigation revealed the horrors hidden behind the diner's facade. The owners were apprehended, and the place was shut down. John and Bart were left with a chilling lesson, a reminder that sometimes even the most incurious places can hold the darkest secrets. They vowed to cherish the simple moments and be grateful for each day. knowing that not all who venture into the night are as fortunate to return from its shadows. In the quiet hours of the night, a sense of unease settled over Sarah as she lay in her dimly lit bedroom. The rhythmic ticking of the antique clock on her nightstand seemed louder than usual. Moonlight filtered through the curtains, casting eerie patterns on the walls. Her unease grew, and she strained to hear something. There was a faint whisper, like the soft rustling of leaves in the wind. Sarah sat up, her heart pounding in her chest. She glanced around the room, her gaze eventually settling on the closet door. As her eyes fixed on the closet, she heard it again, the whisper, but this time she realized it was her own voice. "Sarah," it called, barely audible. Her pulse quickened, for it was as if her own voice was coming from the depths of the closet. Trembling, Sarah summoned the courage to approach the closet. She hesitated, her hand trembling as she reached for the doorknob. When she finally turned it, the door creaked open, revealing the darkness within. The voice, still soft but unmistakable, now seemed to echo through the closet. "Sarah, you have secrets, don't you?" Sarah recoiled in shock. Her heart raced as she realized that the voice was indeed hers, but it knew things only she was privy to, secrets she had never shared with anyone. "Who are you?" Sarah asked, her voice quivering. The voice from the closet responded, "I am the darkness that knows your every fear, your deepest secrets, your darkest desires. I am the reflection of your hidden self, your inner demon." Sarah's breath caught in her throat as realization sank in. She had always concealed her true self from the world, burying her fears and desires deep within her. Now, her hidden self had found a voice, a presence, and it was haunting her from within the confines of her own closet. The chilling realization that she was not alone in her own home, that her deepest secrets were laid bare before her own inner demon, sent shivers down her spine. With a heavy heart, she understood that confronting her true self was the only way to break free from that malevolent presence. Sarah faced the darkness inside the closet, determined to confront her inner demon and lay her secret bare. The room grew colder, and the moonlight intensified, casting an eerie glow over her haunted face as the whispers grew louder and the confrontation between Sarah and her inner demon began. As Sarah gazed into the darkness of the closet, her inner demon's voice grew more pronounced and insistent, forcing her to confront the truth she had hidden from herself and the world. The whispered confessions echoed through the room, revealing her darkest fears, her most forbidden desires, and the painful memories she had buried deep within. Tears welled in Sarah's eyes as the room seemed to close in around her. She knew that her inner demon was not an external entity, but a manifestation of her own inner turmoil. She had to face it, acknowledge her fears, and come to terms with her past. It was the only way to regain control. With trembling resolve, Sarah took a deep breath and began to speak, acknowledging her secrets, her pain, and her regrets. As the words spilled from her lips, their presence as the closet grew weaker. Its whispers faded. It seemed to feed on her hidden vulnerabilities, and by revealing them, she was taking away its power. Minutes passed, or perhaps hours, as Sarah bared her soul. Her voice was raw from the painful admissions, but gradually the room returned to a semblance of normality. The moonlight softened, and the air warmed. The closet door slowly swung shut, and the whispers ceased. Sarah sank to her knees, emotionally drained but liberated. She had faced her inner demons and wrestled with her own fears. In doing so, she had stripped her inner demon of its power and freed herself from its torment. From that night on, the closet remained an ordinary storage space. No more whispers or airy voices haunted her. Sarah had come to terms with her past and her true self, emerging from the ordeal stronger and more self-aware than ever before. The chilling presence had been banished, but the echoes of that fateful night lingered, a reminder that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones we create within ourselves.
Once upon a time, in a small town nestled in a remote area, stood a dilapidated old house famously known as the Haunted House. Legend had it that house had been cursed by an evil sorcerer. Anyone who dared enter would endure unspeakable horrors and would never be seen again. It was a Halloween night and a little girl approached the house. No other kid who went trick-or-treating dared to go to that house. Even if they lived right next door, she was intrigued by the stories and couldn't resist the allure of the unknown. The house emitted an eerie aura, with its broken windows, overgrown ivy, and the unmistakable smell of rot and decay. She stepped inside and said, "Is anyone home?" No one answered. She was immediately engulfed in darkness. Shadows danced on the walls, and a chilling breeze whispered through the corridors. She navigated through the maze-like house, adrenaline pumping through her veins. As she ventured deeper into the decrepit dwelling, she started to experience strange occurrences. Doors slammed shut with an unseen force, cold hands grazed her flesh, and the whispers of ghostly voices echoed in her ears. She heard a ghostly voice say, "Get out while you still can." She was so freaked out that she ran out of the room. She ran into this man who said he ran into the house cause he heard screaming and said he knows the way out. Before she knew it, she was out of the house and the man was nowhere to be found. She was so confused of where the man went. As soon as she got home, she googled the house and a bunch of stories came up. She saw a story with a picture of the same man she saw. She started reading about it and it said that he lived there. She felt a little better and knew that she wasn't going crazy, then saw that he was born on April 19, 1848 and died on October 31, 1899 by a brutal death on Halloween. And legend says the spirits of the murderer and the man who got killed both still live in that house. The murderer tries to trap and kill people in that house while the man the little girl saw tries to help. People escape the house before the murderer kills them.
It was Sunday night, football day. I was so excited. I've been waiting for this all week. I was off work and been watching football all day. Everything was going fine until I heard a strange noise outside, so I went to go check it out. I look outside and see this strange man sitting across the street at the bus stop. He was just staring at me and then started dancing. I was so creeped out that I stopped looking for a second and then he was gone. I was definitely creeped out by all this, but tried not to think too much about it and just continue watching my football game until I heard a strange knock at my door. So I went to go see who it was. I peep out of my window and see this strange man on my sidewalk in front of my house just staring at me. He then blew me a kiss, which was so weird and strange. I didn't know what to do, but I knew something wasn't right with this man. I wasn't sure if I should go outside and confront him or if I should go and do nothing or stay in my house and call the police. I decided to go out and confront the strange man. He wouldn't respond to me. I kept asking him what he is doing at my house and stared at me and why he is blowing kisses at me. But still, the man wouldn't answer. I started getting freaked out, so I told the man I'm going inside my house to call the police. So I went back inside my house to go get my phone and then came back outside. I came back outside to look for the man and he was gone. It was like he vanished in seconds. I was so confused of how this could even be possible and where the man had gone in such a quick time. I saw a note on the ground that read, "I'll be back in 1 year." I was confused of what this was and threw it away. I decided to try to forget about everything and go inside and watch the rest of my football game. I was on my way home from my friend's house to watch the game, just like I do every Sunday. I was super excited to watch the game, and yet I had no clue what I would have in store for me in my own kitchen.
To be continued.
I was working and it was Thanksgiving. I was finishing up working, then my coworker came up to me and asked to do Thanksgiving with me. I wasn't eating with my family this year because they were out of town, so I agreed to have Thanksgiving with my coworker. I come over to my coworker's house late at night and smell something awful. like something was rotten. The coworkers said he overcooked the turkey and peas. I knew what overcooked turkey smelled like, not being the best chef myself, and this smelled a lot worse. My gut was telling me something was wrong, but I still went inside my coworker's house and into the kitchen. I was in the kitchen waiting for the food. Joe, my coworker, said he would be right back with the food. I told him, okay, I'll just wait here. As I'm waiting for the food, I noticed the oven has webs on it, like it hasn't been used in years. And where was he getting the food from if we were in the kitchen? I didn't feel safe here, so I left out the back door before he came back and called the cops. The cops came back and investigated the house. They said the house has been abandoned for decades and nobody has lived there since. It's been 1 year and the coworker has not been seen since. I wonder who he really was and what would have happened to me if I did stay at that house and not left. Would I still be here telling this story today? Who knows? After watching the Squid Games, I got an email asking if I wanted to do a live challenge where if I win, then I would win millions. I thought this could be a life changer, so I responded to the email agreeing to do this. The email then told me to not tell anyone or it would void the contract, and then gave me an address to the street to meet at night. The address took me to a random location in the middle of the woods at night. I was starting to have second feelings about all this, so as I was walking away, I was taken and put into a van. I woke up in the middle of an abandoned building, then started playing all sorts of games from the Squid Games, red light, green light, go, and others. I lost on the third game. I then wake up at the back of my desk and I immediately go to check my emails, and all the emails they sent me were gone. It was like no trace of it has happened, even though I know it did. Or maybe it didn't. Am I going crazy? I knew I had to go to the police or do something about this, but I didn't know where to start or if anyone would believe me. All I did know was that this did happen and I had to go do something about it. I couldn't sit quiet. I had to go save all of the other innocent people who were trapped in the game.